My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today I wanted to talk about quantum possibilities. I've been told many times I'm super meta. I think about what I think about. I'm always, I got all this air element in here. I'm definitely thinking about a lot of different things. And one of the things I consider often is the quantum options. So I see quantum mechanics, quantum physics as the leading edge of science. I see it as something that science has needed for a long time, which is to step back into probability and possibility. I think that we've, gotten a little righteous in our thinking around science. It's like, it's scientific fact. And even I will want to do that. My ego will, it's scientific fact. I just want to grab that. But science is theory. It may be able to consistently prove itself, but it's still theory. And one of the most beautiful ways I've ever heard to potentially elucidate that concept, many moons ago, there was a gentleman with the last name of Wisdom, Derek Wisdom, and he once said to me, and I've repeated this many times since, because I was like, that is some, you literally just dropped wisdom in my head. He said, how can you prove reality? Because this could be a dream. It could be some sleeping giant's dream. And the dream could seem like billions of years to us, but could literally take an evening in that giant's lifetime. So how could you prove that you're not in a dream? Like there's the I pinch myself, therefore I exist, but who's to say that you wouldn't have reactions in a dream or feelings? It's not, I don't think that we comprehensively understand all the dynamics of dreams. I mean, periodic table came from a dream. Explain that to me. It's not science that offered us the periodic table. It was a dream. So, okay. It's a little tricky because we tend to take science as fact and often throw spirituality out because scientifically prove it you can't, but yet you experience love and can't scientifically prove where that exists. So science is not a god, it's an option, and it is theoretical. However, I find quantum mechanics and quantum physics to be where science has stepped back into its leading edge nature, which is to be a questioner. And if you're really going to be a questioner, if you're going to use more of the Socratic method and you're going to start asking questions and you're going to start diving in and start looking at things, one of the things you might find in there is possibility and probability, and that's certainly what you find in the quantum realm. When we discuss quantum mechanics, we're taking things into the microcosmic viewpoint instead of the macrocosmic, larger cosmological perspective. We're going into the microcosmic perspective, and we're looking at the realm of the Tino 90. So in the realm of the Tino 90, you have, I'm made of 30 trillion cells. Those cells are made of atoms. The atoms are made of subatomic particles. The subatomic particles have 3 quarks. Just keeps getting smaller. I mean, from 30 trillion cells into atoms, into subatomic particles, into quarks. It just keeps getting smaller. What we find, though, as we go into the microcosm and into this quantum probability is that the reason I call it quantum probability is because those subatomic particles can behave, and it baffles any scientist. It baffles that kind of more historical scientific fact, it's a fact-based thinking. It baffles that because it literally caused scientists to kind of like, whoa, wait, this doesn't make any sense, because a thing should be a given thing. We assume a wave should be a wave, a particle should be a particle. If a particle is a particle, it's a particle. It doesn't become a wave. But when we study quantum mechanics, what we recognize is that when you have a consciousness, Heather has a consciousness, she's an observer, she has a mind, she's out there labeling things. And as I'm doing that, my consciousness will, as it looks upon something, will cause it to become a particle. If I'm looking at this ring, the ring becomes particles in the shape of this owl-shaped ring on my finger. Beautiful. Love it. Love this ring. Came from my beloved friend Noli. However, when I, the observer, I, the consciousness, I, the labeler, am not looking at the ring, when eyes and consciousness and awareness are not set upon the ring itself and the particles that comprise this ring become probability waves. They have what I call probability of locality. There's like a mathematical probability wave of locations that the ring could potentially exist in what I call the space-time delusion, because everything's made of emptiness, which means there's only here. And the only time you've ever actually found your breath or your existence is now. So what happens when things move from being particles to being waves of probability, it's like, are we here? Are we probably here until we think about the fact that we're here? Like, why does having an observer, having a consciousness, cause things to go from a probable state to a space-time location state? Like, that's really strange. It's baffling. And Niels Bohr and many of our forefathers in the realm of quantum mechanics would really state that if quantum physics doesn't baffle you, you haven't understood it. So one of the things I love about quantum physics and quantum mechanics is you have these beautiful mathematicians and these brilliant scientists that are using science for what it is, a theory system, and they're proposing their theories around trying to bring understanding to what the math is saying when they look at the double slit experiment, probability, quantum superposition, quantum jumping. When they look at all the aspects of quantum mechanics, there are some, a very small slice, that will theorize that this, your Earth school, your life, when I say this, I mean your life, my life, all of life, is a simulation, that this is a computer simulation, and that, there are things you can Google around like matrix repetitions or matrix jumping. Those that would theorize that this is a simulation and not an actual live experience, there are qualities in this existence that maybe even you've experienced, where it's like, didn't that car just pass by for a fifth time? And that's viable. But you start to see something that feels like a loop, or feels like isn't that a redundancy? Didn't I just see that person 1 second ago in another store? How did we, they were on a bike and I drove. So sometimes you see stuff that, based in the concept of mathematics and physics, it's not quite adding up. And it's like, wait a minute, is the matrix looping? And so when we start to think about this being a simulation, it's almost as if you are plugged into a matrix of awareness. And what's interesting is that we do find ourselves in a simulation, potentially inside of a simulation, because we get on our simulated devices. And if this is just a simulated reality, we're opting in for simulation within simulation reality. Very weird. Very weird. Love that idea. Love to marinate on that. Love to question that as a probability, because as I want to operate with the truth, the microcosmic realm operates in probability. So if I'm going to work with science, then I'm going to work with the nature of reality, which means I'm going to be a probability thinker. And I'm going to use the Socratic method, and I'm going to consider that probability. Another probability, and not all quantum physicists will align with this, but it's the one that makes the most sense to me, because anything that makes, that illuminates awareness that the ego is a fool probably has wisdom. I mean, we have the ego. I don't want to vilify it. It has a function. Its function is to label. It's become the great judger instead of discerner. The ego is meant to discern that fire is hot, don't stick your hand in it. It's not meant to judge that fire is bad because it could burn you if you stick your hand in it. But the ego has become the great judger as opposed to the great discerner, which is fundamentally its function is to label and categorize things and safe, not safe, safe, not safe. On, off, binary, almost. So one of the other theories that I dearly love is the concept of multiverses. The way this is traditionally held is that there are an infinite number of probabilities, because microcosmically there are these infinite probabilities as far as where the particles could be. And it's not until my consciousness gets involved, my deciding awareness gets involved, that the particle winds up over there, over there, over there, in that shape as that thing. There's a theory that there are an infinite number of probabilities for my reality, and that they all do exist. So this is a multiverse theory where there are potentially, there's a distinction between multiverses and multiple realms, so we can talk shamanically about the realms, but this is the concept of like there's an infinite number of multiverses. In one, Heather's making this video, in another she's already dead, in another she's taking a nap on the bed, in another she's stuck in her head, in another she's eating a snack, whatever. There's like these infinite probabilities of realities, and my consciousness is choosing and aligning with the one that is speaking to you now. Viably, though, there's an infinite echo of this, and many of them I'm making a video, and many of them I'm choosing a little bit different words, and many of them, right? Which I love that. I love the expansiveness of that. One that struck my mind in the past year is because I was really kind of considering, if you've ever seen the movie Donnie Darko, in the movie Donnie Darko, there are these tunnels that come out of the people, and they kind of look like, in my mind, like wormholes. And I started thinking, like, what if we have difficulty like finding or understanding wormholes because we are a wormhole? What if an individual life is a wormhole? And I was like marinating on that and speaking to a brilliant friend named Reagan, and she was saying, like, we're talking about multiplicity and singularity, and she was saying, but wouldn't it be one wormhole and each human is a slice in the wormhole? So we were really like marinating and experimenting, doing some thought experiments around the concept of being a wormhole. But as I started to consider that idea of like, what if I'm a wormhole? And like, it just, you know, there are things that far more in heaven and earth ratio than you and I have dared to dream. There are things that probably my mind can't even conceive of. Does the fish know that it swims in water? It's these concepts that make me like, if I was a wormhole, how would I know it? Or like, if this was a simulation, how would we know it? If there were infinite universes, the math shows that that's viable, but how will we fundamentally know it? How can I, through my own experience, my great teacher experience, kind of find validity or truth in this concept? So then from that, I started thinking, wait a minute, what if instead of Heather having an infinite number of multiverses in the way that she expresses, what if each individual consciousness is its own multiverse? So what if in reality there are 7.9 billion two-legged multiverses? There are feathered brethren multiverses, animal multiverses, plant multiverses. What if each spark of awareness, spark of consciousness, and I would say plants have consciousness. I find them to be very aware. But what if each one was its own individual multiverse, and that individual multiverse is making decisions about how it's going to show up? So Heather Feather is her own specific unique multiverse, and you are your own specific unique multiverse, receiving the frequency, offerings, teachings, and choices made within my multiverse. And if I am my own multiverse and you are your own multiverse, and let's say you're a flat earther and I'm a emptiness neutral hologram theorist, so I think it's all the things, but let's say you're a flat earther and my other friend over here is a round earther, and my other friend over here is an oval earther, and I'm an all possibilities exister. In your world, the earth is flat because it's its own multiverse. So what you believe, you perceive, and it becomes your reality. And if you believe the world is flat and you're a flat earther, for you it's flat. And you're a round earther, for you it's round. And you're an oval earther, for you it's oval. And I'm an everythinger, so they all exist because I'm an infinite multiverse theorist. Fun! So the reason I wanted us to consider quantum possibilities, quantum probabilities, is because if each entity is its own beautiful, unique, distinct creation, and it is meant, this universe of ours, to express in infinite, diverse, beautiful ways, what then is the point of trying to change someone else's mind to your way being right? Your way is right in your realm, and their way is right in their realm. And we're all fools for thinking we're right anyhow, because infinite diversity is the song that's being sung here at Earth School. What silliness. You can go to YouTube and subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine there. There's lots of videos on a wide variety of topics. Today I'm just opening us up to the possibility of probabilities. Maybe it's not so much about being right, but honoring the multiverse you find yourself in and choosing well. You can go to rarebirdmedicine.com. Click on the classes link. We have an upcoming class on shamanism and reading the tarot. We'd love to have your brilliance join us. Blessed be.